For centuries, a mysterious creature has haunted the forests of North America, a towering, elusive figure known as Bigfoot. But where did this legend begin? And is there any truth to the sightings? Long before modern Bigfoot hunters, indigenous tribes across North America told stories of massive ape-like beings. The Stisdalis people of British Columbia spoke of Sasquatch, a hairy giant who roamed the wilderness. This name would later be anglicized to Sasquatch. Other tribes like the Lumi had tales of Tesmekwes, a powerful, wild creature of the woods. But it wasn't until the late 19th century and early 20th centuries that Bigfoot entered mainstream attention. Loggers, miners, and settlers reported seeing enormous footprints, strange howls in the night, and even encounters with massive bipedal creatures. In 1958, a construction worker named Jerry Crew discovered massive footprints at a work site in California. When a newspaper ran the story, they coined the name Bigfoot, and a legend was born. But nothing cemented Bigfoot's place in pop culture more than the famous Patterson-Gimlin film of 1967. Shot in Bluff Creek, California, the grainy footage allegedly shows a female Sasquatch striding across the clearing. To this day, some believe it's definitive proof, while skeptics claim it's just a man in a suit. And here are some notable encounters. The first one would be the Ape Canyon incident of 1924. And one of the most terrifying Bigfoot encounters took place in 1924 at Ape Canyon, Washington. A group of miners claimed they were attacked by a group of large, hairy creatures that hurled rocks at their cabin all night. They barely escaped with their lives. Skeptics say they may have mistaken bears, but what if they weren't alone? In 2000, researchers in Washington State discovered what they claim is a Bigfoot body imprint in the mud, known as the Skookum Cast. Some scientists argue it could be an elk, but Bigfoot believers see it as evidence of something much stranger. And finally, the Provo Canyon footage of 2012. Hikers near Provo Canyon, Utah, filmed a dark, hulking figure in the trees. As they zoomed in, the creature suddenly stood up and rushed toward them, sending them running for their lives. So is Bigfoot real? Many claim hoaxes and misidentifications explain the sightings. Others believe thousands of eyewitness accounts can't be all wrong. Until undeniable proof emerges, the mystery of Bigfoot remains. And if Bigfoot is real, maybe it's watching you right now. Deep in the cold, uncharted forests of North America, something ancient waits, a creature of hunger, madness, and death. It stalks the lost, preys on the desperate, and feasts on human flesh. Its name is the Wendigo. But this horrifying legend, is it just folklore, or could there be truth behind the stories? Tonight we're diving into the origins of the Wendigo and some of the most chilling real-life encounters that suggest it may still be lurking in the wilderness. The legend of the Wendigo comes from the Algonquian-speaking indigenous tribes of North America, including the Cree, Ojibwe, and Innu. It is said to be a malevolent spirit that embodies hunger, greed, and the darkest corners of human nature. According to the legend, the Wendigo was once human, a person who in the face of starvation turned to cannibalism. But the moment they consumed human flesh, they were cursed, transformed into a hideous, skeletal beast with hollowed eyes, stretched skin, and an insatiable hunger that would never be satisfied. The Wendigo is no ordinary monster. It moves silently through the woods, lurking in the darkness. Some say it can mimic human voices, calling out in distress to lure victims deeper into the wilderness. Even worse, some versions of the legend say that simply hearing the Wendigo's call or dreaming of it can drive a person mad. Once its hunger finds you, you may never escape. But is the Wendigo just a legend? Some say otherwise. Throughout history, there have been chilling reports of Wendigo encounters, stories of madness, whispers in the night, and unexplained disappearances. Encounter 1. The Case of Swift Runner, 1879. One of the most infamous cases tied to the Wendigo legend is that of Swift Runner, a Cree man in Alberta, Canada. In the winter of 1879, despite having access to food, he brutally murdered and devoured his entire family. When authorities found him, he claimed he had been possessed by a Wendigo, driven to kill by an insatiable hunger. Whether or not you believe this story, one thing is certain: he was executed for his crimes, but some say the spirit that drove him to madness never left. The Wendigo psychosis experiment. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, indigenous communities reported a terrifying phenomenon: Wendigo psychosis. Individuals, often in isolated regions, would become convinced they were turning into Wendigos. They would claim to be overwhelmed with the urge to eat human flesh, even when food was available. One of the most well-documented cases occurred in 1907 when Jack Fiddler, an indigenous shaman, was arrested for killing a man he believed was possessed by a Wendigo. He claimed to have killed 14 people over the years, all to prevent their transformation into the monster. But was it truly psychosis or something far more real? The 2019 Minnesota incident. Even today, reports of Wendigo sightings continue. In 2019, a group of hunters in Minnesota claimed they encountered something horrifying in the deep woods. They reported hearing a voice calling out, sounding like a young girl lost in the forest. But when they searched the area, they saw something: a tall, thin figure with sunken eyes and long clawed fingers. It stood completely still, watching them. Then, without making a sound, it vanished. So is the Wendigo just an old legend? Or is there something lurking in the forest waiting for its next victim? The next time you find yourself deep in the woods and hear a voice calling for help, think twice before answering. Deep in the American Southwest, an ancient legend haunts the land. A being that can shift its form, mimic voices, and stalk its prey under the cover of night. Those who claim to have seen it are never the same. This is the legend of the Skinwalker. But where did this horrifying tale begin? And is it just a myth, or is there something real lurking in the darkness? The legend of the Skinwalker comes from the Navajo culture, where it is known as a Yi-Naldlushi, meaning one who walks on all fours. These beings are said to be powerful witches, once human, but corrupted by dark magic. To gain their abilities, they must commit an unspeakable act, taking the life of a close family member. Once transformed, Skinwalkers can shapeshift into animals, coyotes, wolves, owls, and even monstrous hybrids. They move with unnatural speed, blending in with the night and always watching. But shifting their form is only the beginning. The Skinwalker is said to possess terrifying abilities. They can run faster than any human, jump impossibly high, and most disturbingly, mimic voices. Many who have encountered these beings claim they have heard the voice of a loved one calling out, only to realize that the person wasn't there. Some say if you lock eyes with a skinwalker, they can take control of your thoughts, paralyzing you in fear. But is the skinwalker just an old legend, or have people actually seen it? There are stories, terrifying stories, that suggest these creatures may be more than just folklore. The Navajo's policeman story. One of the most famous encounters comes from a Navajo police officer in the 1980s. While patrolling a remote road, he noticed a creature running alongside his vehicle, keeping pace at 60 miles an hour. Terrified, he slammed the gas pedal, but when he looked back, the creature had vanished. Later, he found long, claw-like handprints on the doors of his car, as if something had tried to get inside. Perhaps the most well-documented series of skinwalker encounters took place in Utah on what is now known as Skinwalker Ranch. For decades, the landowners reported strange activity, bizarre lights in the sky, cattle being mutilated, and sightings of terrifying creatures. In one instance, a rancher saw a massive wolf-like creature attacking his livestock. He fired multiple rounds from his rifle, but the beast didn't flinch. When they tracked its footprints, they suddenly disappeared, as if the creature had vanished into thin air. More recently, in 2018, a driver traveling through Arizona late at night reported a terrifying experience. He saw what looked like a stranded hitchhiker on the side of the road. As he slowed down, the figure suddenly dropped to all fours and sprinted toward his car. Panicked, the driver swerved and hit the gas, but for miles he saw a dark figure trailing him in his rearview mirror, sometimes on 2 legs, sometimes on 4. When he finally reached a populated area, it was gone. So is the Skinwalker just an ancient legend? Or is there something lurking in the deserts of the Southwest waiting for its next victim? If you ever find yourself alone on a dark road and you hear someone calling your name from the trees, don't look, don't answer, and whatever you do, don't stop. Like and subscribe for more chilling legends. Let us know in the comments, do you believe in the Skinwalker, the Wendigo, or Bigfoot? Thank you and have a great night.